Mhm. Hello everyone, my name is Gurnur Singh and this is my video demonstration for single responsibility principle and how it stems from encapsulation, which is one of the main concepts of object-oriented programming. So what is single responsibility principle at first? So it's one of the main principles of object-oriented programming, and it just simply states that a class should have only one reason to change. That is that a class should only do one thing within the program. And what that does is actually promotes a code that's easy to understand, easy to test, and then easy to maintain as well. One of the solid example of SRP has to be instead of one class handling user data validation and storage, you have one user class which handles user data. Then you have user validator class which checks if user data is valid, and then user repository class which stores and retrieves user data, where each class has a single responsibility. And let's say if I want to put this into a real life analogy as well, just imagine a restaurant, right? Every restaurant has different staff members. Where a chef cooks food, you have waiters taking orders and serving food, you have a cashier handling bills and payments. Each person has one clear responsibility, which is what? SRP in action. And how does it then relates to encapsulation? Each staff member has its own tools as well, like stove, which is required by a chef, then a notepad, which is required by a waiter, and a register, which is required by a cashier. And what that simply does is that, as you guys can see, that's what encapsulation is as well, where each class has its own methods of setters and getters that get the data to a certain class and then set the data as well. Uh, so yeah, as you guys can see, so let's say a role is chef, then you have a chef class which has a responsibility of preparing food. You have waiter, then waiter class taking orders and delivering orders as well. And I'll just explain encapsulation as well, so it's easier to understand how it relates to a single responsibility principle as well. So encapsulation is an OOP, object-oriented principle, that hides internal state. That's what encapsulation is, that we are hiding a certain data or a certain class from the user that is essential for the program to work, and we are protecting it so that there are no changes made which are unrequired. And objects expose only necessary paths through public methods. So instead of going with public methods at first, we make some of the methods or variables private so that users or anyone else doesn't access them indirectly, but only through public methods. And what it does is actually keep our code not only secure but modular as well. And now, how does these two relate? So how SRP, that is single responsibility principle, stems from encapsulation. So what encapsulation initially does is it defines boundaries around data and behavior. So basically what happens is that we have certain variables and methods which are said to be private rather than public. And then through those public methods, we actually not only program a code, but make things accessible to the user as well. However, in case of yeah, that's the thing. And SRP actually what it does is it ensures each boundary class has one clear purpose. So when we combine these two, you have a program where each class has its own purpose, and then within each class, there are a certain set of methods and variables which are hidden from the user so that the program can work correctly and there are no unwanted changes. So both principles reduce complexity and improve maintainability of the code. So it's easier to make changes, and then each class has its own responsibility, so it's easier to get the code. Instead of a class, let's say you have a restaurant, let's say, and each person over there has a responsibility to cook food. Each person is saying, okay, they're going to serve as well. And each staff member is handling the cash register as well. What's going to happen is there's going to be a clutter of staff members around the restaurant, and you don't know if anyone's going to get their food. However, when we divide these roles into a chef, into a cashier, or into a waiter, it's easier for the program to work or the restaurant to work as well. And so what SRP is basically, actually, it's a refinement of good encapsulation practices, that we are not only aligning roles, but within those roles, we are setting boundaries as well, that each object or a method or a variable has a certain role that others don't touch. And so to summarize, this is basically how SRP stems from encapsulation. So what does SRP say? Single responsibility say. It says a class should have only one reason to change. And then encapsulation says, okay, I'm hide there's internal state and behavior that's need to be hidden from the users. And what then SRP does is that it builds on encapsulation to keep responsibilities separate as well. And together, what they do is they promote clean and maintainable as well as scalable code. So yeah, overall, this is my video demonstration for single responsibility principle and how it stems from encapsulation. Thank you.